morning, everybody. Well, good afternoon, actually. We're in between. Joe Frost is the board president of the Central Ohio Black Business Chamber, and we're very excited to have her on board. This is one of the initiatives started from CK, learning more about diverse groups in Central Ohio. Saying that, Jill, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and happy Monday. So I am board chair of the Central Ohio African American Chamber, and I am joined today by our executive director, Avery Frost, and she will be, we'll sort of be tag teaming it. We've prepared a brief overview to give you an idea of what COAC is, what we do. We won't keep you long on this Monday midday, but we did want to share a bit of information about who we are and what we do. And we're pretty casual. So if you have questions, either Avery or I will keep an eye on the chat, and we will take your questions as they come up, if that's okay. And to highlight the informality of how we do things, when I heard you guys were going to have a joke of the day, I have this one joke, and Avery just said to me, you have to do this joke. Okay, simple joke, real quick. A priest, a pastor, and a rabbit walk into a bar. Rabbit says, I think I'm a typo, but I'm fun. So if I can, you're going to think about it later and laugh. If I can share my screen, we'll get started. Perfect. And Avery will jump in if she has comments to add before I turn it over to her. But again, we are the Central Ohio African American Chamber of Commerce. We were established in 2018. And we are not the first in our community. There have been other African American chambers or other iterations of African American chambers. And in about 2017, a group of Black-owned businesses got together to stand this up again. And the goal at the time, and still is the goal, is for us to be a premier advocate for Black-owned businesses in Central Ohio. We have a lot of advocacy groups, and we have a lot of business organizations. Many of you are members of chambers, but what we found with COAC was that we were the only group that was exclusively speaking for and looking to the interest of Black-owned businesses. And we realized in 2017, when we opted to launch again, that that was important. And so we wanted to be that voice for Black-owned businesses, and we remain that voice. As a centralized resource, there are some things that we sort of focus on to provide to our members and to the Black-owned business community. One is access to capital. Most of us have heard stories, especially in this past year, that has been like no other for business owners, for people, for everybody. But the access to capital issue has continued to be a challenge for Black-owned businesses, minority firms across the board, but Black-owned to be sure. We try to give our members entry into new markets, and what that looks and feels like to us is exposure. It is letting people know that our firms and our companies are out there and eager to do business with them. And we look at new markets also as relationship builders. And so our relationships are built on partnerships. We partner with a lot of organizations, and we try to provide collaborative opportunities for our members. We don't think that any one company, any one organization, nobody is the end all be all to anything. And so collaboration is really important to what we do. Avery, do you want to pick it up?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this time with you today. And thank you to my friend Savas for the connection and invitation. Always good to see your face. Yeah, so the mission of COAC is to advocate and to educate Black-owned businesses in the community at large on issues that impact the inclusion and growth of our businesses in Central Ohio, specifically focusing on the Columbus Metropolitan Service Area. And so all of our activities, obviously the mission guides what we do, but all of them kind of fall within these three pillars of service. And so everything we always try to kind of focus or keep our focus here. So access, advocacy, and acceleration or development when we're talking about a business's growth. And so our members, we kind of run the gamut. So by and large, I would say a majority, at least, of our members would fall within business or consumer services, generally speaking. And you'll see in a second, there is a whole bunch of classifications there within them. But we have a lot of business to business type of companies. On average, our companies have been open for 15 years and they employ about 8 people. So we're generally the small businesses. I think our largest business might have 110 employees. That's in they're in the home healthcare space. And so this is just kind of a snap of the different industries that you'll find people in, our members in. So art, beauty and hair care, food and beverages. We have like caterers, different restaurants, also, but information technology and insurance services, as well as we have some youth programs. We have some programs that are there as we have other nonprofits that are members. If they're focused on our community or if they serve a lot of African Americans in Central Ohio, we see some of them become members as well. And so for the our focus areas, so just to go in just briefly into the 3 areas of focus. Next slide. So first,
doing so well there.
Oh no, it's okay, because I was like, I know we're going into now. I think you're going to do advocacy.
Mm-hmm. So again, like Avery said, we have areas that we focus our attention on, or we focus the attention of our members. And we talk a lot about members and membership, but if you listen to us long enough, what you will hear is that we really feel an accountability, a responsibility for the Black-owned business community in general. So yes, the members are our primary target, as those of you who are involved in chambers know, and I heard before the meeting started, some of you were talking about chambers. Our primary focus obviously is our members, but we really do look at all Black-owned businesses in the metro area as people we are accountable to. And so in the area of advocacy, we focus on legislative initiatives, things that are coming up in the state budget, things that are coming up at the federal level that our members ought to be if not doing something about, certainly aware of. We look at private and public sector procurement. So very often companies, government agencies and companies will go to Avery and say, hey, do you have somebody in this space? And we will look at our membership roster to find out if there is a potential connection to be made between the company or the agency and our member businesses. We often do big call outs to say, you know, this agency has an RFP on the street to do this work. Just to make sure that our companies know about it. We also look at business to business exposure because, as Avery mentioned, a lot of our businesses are business to business firms or companies, and we try to amplify the availability within the membership, within the community, of the goods and services that are available from Black-owned businesses. We have heard and we've all heard it, I'm sure, that I would do business with this segment if I knew they were there, or if I knew that there was a business that did that. And so we try to promote our businesses, to make sure that if you're looking to do business in a certain area, that you're looking at our companies as well. Another area that we look at is access. And you'll notice that our agenda items are really kind of circular because some will leak over into others. So with access, we're looking at procurement, guaranteeing that our firms have an opportunity to go for RFPs that are on the street or contracts that are on the street. We work with media outlets to tell our stories, and very often Avery will get a call from a reporter who wants to do a story. Certainly in this past, 13 months, we've had a lot of that, and she's able to connect them with a member or a Black-owned business who can help the reporter and also tell their own story. Access to capital, again, a big one. And then pipelines to opportunities. So working with, supplier diversity people, working with people who manage other resources to make sure that at the very least, our companies, our members know about the resources and the opportunities. Avery?
Yeah, and so also within all of our activities, so we're always trying to speak for our community as best as we can to be a good advocate for them. We are trying to provide this access, but we also see that it's very important that we're providing some services and some rails to help businesses to grow, so that they can take advantage of the opportunities as they come about. So every business that we interact with isn't ready to compete on everything right now. And so we will have either like workshops or talkbacks that we do with our membership. We will have, as part of our bi-monthly membership meetings, we may bring in a subject matter expert to talk about something that is immediately imperative and important to that business. And we also do a lot of referrals to other resource partners, so that the business can take advantage of the either free or low cost services that are available throughout the region, or find a consultant who has what they need, and they can take that cost so that they can keep growing their capacity. We also you hear this a lot in our presentation, but access to capital is very, very crucial for any small business's success. And so part of that, when we're dealing with our community and we're talking about to our businesses, we have to understand what we can do to help improve financial literacy as well. So because there is, over time, there's grown this systemic racial wealth gap. So in the amount of revenue potential that you see sometimes between different types of businesses, there is a gap between African-American owned businesses and others. And so part of it, when we're talking about access, like getting these contracts and these loans, et cetera, we're also talking about wealth retention. And so like how you can take care of the assets that you have. And I mean, it says here, we do work to nurture young entrepreneurs, but we work to nurture all of the entrepreneurs, anyone who comes into our area of focus. And I did see a question pop up. Do we help member companies get certifications with like the MBE or another certification? We can. And we also have resource partners. Like for instance, I also work for the Columbus Urban League. And in my department, we have a certification specialist who does provide free assistance to package your application and get it submitted. And we've had a lot of success with that one-on-one attention. And so we would make that kind of connection there to help expedite that.
Thank you, Avery. And so that really briefly is who we are and what we do. We have, in addition to information about the organization, we maintain a list of Black-owned businesses on our website. So if you are curious about who our companies are, we invite you to go to our website and check out the list. If you're curious about what we do, then we also encourage you to go to our website and check out the list. One of the, I think, most fun things that we're able to do, especially in the environment we're in, is to connect companies to resources, to connect them to things that are already there. Over the past 13 months, we saw a lot of people trying to build out a lot of things. And what we were able to do as a chamber was as our ED Avery says all the time, we stay in our lane. We do what we do, and part of what we do is not promote the reinvention of the wheel and work to connect people with resources that are already there, just because it is so important that everybody, has access to the resources that are there. And I see a question, comment. Is it involved formally? Avery? The question is about whether the Columbus Urban League and the Chamber are formal partners, I think is what the question is about.
Okay. Yeah, that is in process. We've since I took this position April of last year, we've been developing an informal partnership, referring back and forth, right? And so as it makes sense for clients of our program to get referred over to the Urban League, or to our chamber, we do, and vice versa. And then how do we interact with the Columbus Chamber? I'm assuming you mean the Greater Columbus Chamber. And same idea. And so there are some of our members who may be members, actually there are some who are members of both chambers. And what we'll see is, so yes, we are Central Ohio, but we are kind of almost an affinity chamber, for lack of better words. And so like we have members that are part of geographic specific chambers, like Worthington, Bexley, New Albany, etc., as well as our chamber, because we're kind of coming at it from two different angles. And so that you'll see that kind of frequently.
Yeah, I think it's really, what we do is very specialized, and we pride ourselves on playing very well in the sandbox with everybody, because this is a holistic piece, but our focus is our focus, and we get to be just myopic in our focus. And so if you live in Hilliard, then maybe you are a part of the Hilliard Chamber. And we have, I think, pretty good working relationships with a lot of the suburban chambers. When we launched, the Westerville Chamber was one of the first chambers that reached out to Avery to say, anything you need, whatever you need, as you stand this thing up. We worked pretty well and extensively last summer, I think it was, Avery, with the New Albany Chamber.
Yeah,
Yeah. So so we're really happy about that. The question in the chat box is, do you provide any support to Columbus Public Schools vocational programs? We don't at this time, but we are super open to it. We are actually looking at trying to be a better partner or figure out a way to partner with Columbus State, because they have a lot of students who are coming out with certifications. And if you know what I know about the 2021 economy, the plumber who is certified and has his own plumbing operation is doing as well in this market as anybody else. The crafts, the vocations are great entries into entrepreneurship for a lot of folks. And so we really are open to working with those folks who are training people in the market with certificates and those kinds of vocations.
Yeah, and very open to hosting interns and doing being mentors, because it's mutually beneficial, right? We can give somebody some access, but we also can help expand the capacity of the business. So we've talked about it at a high school level. We've also talked about it at a college level. And so we're definitely interested in that kind of thing.
Are there specific industries that you are trying to connect with your members? Maybe some organizations or companies in our membership can help make those connections. Please and thank you.
Yeah, that's easy. And but also kind of not sometimes, because our membership is very similar to the breakdown of Central Ohio demographically within industries. So we don't have one industry that has more than 25% of our membership. I think the highest might be financial services, talking about accountants, insurance, that kind of area. But the rest is just like spread out. And so what we usually just kind of work with folks case by case. And you're like, hey, I have this idea. I think that there might be some mutual benefit there. And then we'll come up with something that works together. Like we're working with is it First Merchants to come up. They're about to do some construction. And so we're talking about how we can be helpful to them. There's contract opportunities, but also they're trying to make sure they have a specific impact. So yeah, and thank you for putting that. Our info is in the chat too. And thank you, Richard.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing from you. We have done, as Avery mentioned, events around business opportunities. So Franklin County Children's Services, when we were in person and the world was young, came in and did a presentation on doing business with Franklin County Children's Services. Sometimes the biggest barrier to having a more inclusive set of vendors is that you haven't been connected with those vendors, or those vendors haven't been invited to come and work with you. And sometimes exposure is all that it takes. When we did the meeting with Franklin County Children's Services, I think 2 members or more walked away with contracts. We did an event at the Greater Columbus Convention Center when they opened the Shore North side, where we had Black-owned companies come in, and the team at the convention center did a presentation on how to do business with the convention center. And the person who is the official florist for the convention center, who's also a COAC member, she credits that meeting with getting the business from the convention center, with becoming the house florist. And she's fabulous, by the way. Her name is Danya's Florals. But she credits that meeting with getting that business. And we had people across industries who at the very least got meetings with John Page and his team to hear about doing business. So really, it's not complicated and doesn't really take a heavy lift. It is exposure. It is you meeting us and us meeting you. Local groups.
Oh, there was just one last one. We can do one more.
The Greater London?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we do the same with the idea of the Suburban Chambers. Do we work with other business associations? Yes. Because what we'll see is, like Jill mentioned towards the beginning, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. So if there's other organizations or what have you that are doing work and we're touching the same kind of population, we do work together fairly frequently. And it's and to support them too. And so in the Linden case, it is a hyper local business association. But we're more than happy to engage with those kind of folks, because it gives us a different kind of connection with the businesses in those neighborhoods.
And I think that was the last question.
Okay. Any other questions for Jill or Avery today? Anybody raise your hand or open the mic and speak up? So I had a question.
If I can ask a question.
Go ahead, Scott.
Have you worked at all with Dr. Washington at Franklin University regarding the business education and IT education available through it?
We have not, but we'd be happy to.
I think you would find him to be an excellent resource.
Okay, we'll reach out. I know the IT space is a growing space, and we'd love to do that.
You said Dr. Washington?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. He is the provost at Franklin.
Okay, we actually have a member who teaches there, so maybe she can facilitate a soft intro as well.
Good.
Anybody else have a question for the? So I was just curious, as a startup in 2018, how challenging the last 13 months was for your organization, being a member, I guess, mainly funded through your membership primarily, or solely funded through your membership?
Yeah, so 2018 and 2019 were, I think, based on what we know from hyperlocal and affinity chambers, we did about average. We would come close to the 100-member mark, and then 2020 happened, and honestly, the interest in our organization exploded. Our development capacity in terms of raising funds exploded. People were interested in being supportive to Black-owned companies. And so we had a good 2020. We had growth. We continue that growth in this first quarter of 21. but we have done that. We don't, go out and try to raise money on issues. We did not do that. We quietly did what we do. We supported businesses who were impacted in ways, certainly in the downtown area. And we had people from as far away as, I think, Indiana. There was a group, was it a sorority, Avery?
Yeah.
There was a sorority in Indiana who just wrote us a check, and it was a good check. I mean, it was, every check is a good check, and don't let me act like it's not. But this was a sizable check. They went online and they looked at what they could do to help Black business, and they found us and they sent this check, and we used that money to help our local businesses. So it really has the interest in Black-owned business, locally, nationally, statewide, has not hurt us at all, but we have not recruited members on that. We have not fundraised on that. We just have quietly done what we do.
Yeah, we did, we've, through this program and also through our membership meetings and talking to our members, we did a lot of one-on-one engagement with business owners to walk them through the process. So my office, we do our best to stay on top of the regulation changes. And if you followed it, it changed 100 times. And even just this calendar year, the application itself has changed 7 times. And so there's so many questions, and a lot of people were, before the law changed, people were disqualifying themselves just because they didn't quite understand the process. And so there have been a whole bunch of people who they're like, oh, I'm not eligible. And I'll ask them 3 or 4 questions and it's like, you're very eligible. And actually, we only need a couple pieces of paper and we can get you this money. And so, to date, we've been able to connect businesses with over $8 million in relief funds. And I think a third of that is PPP and some other dollars. And so what I would definitely want to say is that, and our emails in the chat, we could put it in again, but any business, I don't care what you look like, if there's any business who needs assistance applying for the PPP loan and wants to get it done before this deadline or the money runs out, please reach out. I don't really, because it only takes me about 10 minutes to answer your questions and to get you going. And then we have the big banks that we're partnered with at the Urban League, but then I sit on the board of CCDC. It's a local community development agency, and we focus on real estate loans. And we also have a partnership we've developed through COAC with the Ohio Bankers League. And so we have a very long list of banks and lenders who we can connect people to get the application in. And it can be painful, but it can be painless. And so however we can be of assistance, we will. And then we have 100, Dwight asked how many members we have. We have 108 members right now. And we are virtual. That is why we didn't get hit as hard either coming into COVID, is that we were virtual in 2019. And so everything was already online. And so for us, it made it easy to shift into the all virtual space. And so we'll remain that way for the near future. So team@coac.org or info@coac.org is the best way to reach us. And then also we'll make sure you have our phone number. It's on our website. So if there are any questions, just have anyone reach out.
All right. Well, Jill and Avery, was very informative. I appreciate you being here today. Thank you for sharing. And sounds like there's, and I know there's a huge need in the community for what you guys do. So we wish you continued success, and hopefully we have an opportunity to work together maybe on some of these business and career pathways and helping people match up. That's what we like to do as well. So like you said, no reason to reinvent the wheel. Let's see how we can work together going forward.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great afternoon.
Thank
It was
you.
great to see you, Avery.
You too, Sabas.
Thank you, Sabas.
I hope everybody has a great week, great Earth Day, and good to see you. We're adjourned.